Hello everyone, this is Nicolas. Welcome to this video about recruitment basics in the digital age, a company perspective. So let's go. So first of all, few words about the main recruitment methods that companies are using. Because even if we are talking about recruitment in the digital age, there are some basics which are not really changing. Companies typically, when they recruit, they have to decide whether they recruit internally, like within the existing workforce, which can be a good thing for job rotations and having people developing skills and competencies within the company. And the other advantage for the companies is that they know already that person, their skills, abilities, and so forth, and the same also for the employee. So it can be really a win-win situation for both sides. But then in some cases, the companies needs to recruit externally. So this is when they're looking at the job markets, and this is typically the job advertisement you can see on LinkedIn, on the company websites, newspapers, and magazines. The advantages are typically what the companies are looking for when they are recruiting externally is to acquire competencies or people with competencies, skills, experience, networks that they don't have internally. So they're often looking for specialists. And typically, and this is true also on the internet in the digital era, you will have these job ads. Often it's the actual job title which is stated there, and with that you will see basic information about the company, what the company can offer, like the work culture, the work environment, what the company does, its main clients, operations, and so forth. And then usually you have a descriptions of what the job is about, the main responsibilities, sometimes the number of people that you would have to manage, education that they are expecting you to have, same related to experience, so what you've been doing in the past. So this is typically the kind of information you would find, again, for example, on an advertisement on LinkedIn or on the company website. And then they also explain how the application process is going to happen, what you should do for the first step, which is often sending out your CV and application. So the main steps in the recruitment process, and this hasn't changed much. So usually when companies realize that they have a need for a new employee, what they're typically trying to do is to recruit, to build a pool of candidates that they can choose from. And this is where the job advertisements come in. So you make your advertisement on LinkedIn, the company website, some newspapers, also recruitment agencies. There are many ways company can make their job advertisement visible. And for them, the objective of having that pool of candidates is to be able to first not have maybe 500 or 600 candidates, but when the ad is well designed, they will manage to have a pool of 20, 30, 40 very good candidates. And after reviewing all these, the application forms that they have received, and after looking through these application forms, they will select out of these 20, 30, 40 candidates, 5, 10, 15, depending on the application and how, what are the next steps. And typically for some, usually higher level jobs, they will have a series of tests, psychological tests, or going through more in details about your different work experience, maybe also asking for references from your previous employers. That really depends on the company and what they're looking after. Then for the jobs which are less let's say, key for them, like for the kind of job for which the investment for the company is less important, they will usually go quite straightforward from this list of candidates, like from the CVs and the application. They select maybe 5 or 6 that they will then interview. But that really depends on the company and the kind of job at hand, and also whether they are tackling or they're taking care of the recruitment like internally, or whether they outsource their recruitment practices or some part of the process to recruitment agencies. Like the recruitment agencies, they are usually or typically the ones who will add some psychological test or ability test, or like all the kind of tests you can think of when it comes to recruitment. And at the end, like the main objective for the company when they do this is that they are able to recruit the right person with the right set of skills and abilities that will also be a positive addition to the team, to the company. So sometimes also, yeah, that's why I was talking about psychological tests. They also try to get an idea of the kind, like let's say the personality of the candidates. Like sometimes they have to decide whether you're going with the candidates with the right set of skills, but from the personality you have let's say a doubt that that person is going to like the integration of that person is going to be more like challenging, or do you go with the person who is maybe less experienced, who seems to be from the application process and interview a bit less qualified, but with whom like the personality seems to match, or will most likely match very nicely with the rest of the team and the company. So these are examples of situations where company have to decide like how they want to go further. So here you see on this graph from the Charterate Institute of Personal Development, like how companies or what company finds are the most attractive methods to recruit or to attract new employees. So you see that their own corporate website comes on a quite like strong position, same as all the professional like networking sites like LinkedIn. And then the commercial job boards, typically the job applications you find in newspapers and magazines, not like still works, but not as efficient from the company perspective again than their corporate website or networking sites. And then again, it depends here whether we're talking about like usually the bigger corporations, like companies, like multinational companies, which are well known, like they are going to be able to recruit, like their website is a good source of candidate for them. While SMEs and like smaller companies who maybe don't have the same visibility on their website, they will focus more on networking sites like LinkedIn. But most companies, when they are looking for new candidates, new applicants, they're using all of these, like several of these methods, not all of them, but some of these methods. And then when it comes to actually like selecting the applicants, like what company do, like and this is usually from the first steps, like looking at the work history, experience, like CV, education, and so forth. But most companies, they find like interviews and this competency-based interview more reliable, meaning that to them, this is the kind of methods like this competency-based interview through which the chances to recruit the right person are higher. So there is the risk for making mistakes is less important. And these competency-based interviews, like one of the objectives the companies are looking at is to really understand what you are able to do, instead of maybe what you have done, and tell us about your work history, but what would you do in this kind of situation? How would you deal with this kind of client? So that kind of questions are often asked. And interviews are not always like one-to-one. You can have a panel interview when you have 2, 3, 4 persons from the companies like interviewing you, sometimes like face-to-face, but also using Teams or Zooms. This has become like more common, like especially when you are a multinational companies like recruiting, like having candidates applying from abroad, like they don't require you always to fly, for example, to Finland. Like they are often okay to have those interviews like through Zoom or Teams. And often, and again, for the higher ranked jobs, which are a bigger investment, then also a bigger risk for companies, you may have a series of interviews. Then, like, let's say that they have in the pool of candidates, they want to interview after the application process and the CV, like they would have 10 candidates to interview, and then they do a first round. After the first round, there are 5 applicants left. And then they do a third round to decide between the 2 or 3 best applicants they have found so far. What also some companies, like for example, us at the university, we do a lot of work sample tests, like when we are recruiting a lecturer or a teacher, like we have interviews, but we also add this work sample test when the teacher or like the applicants will have to give a lecture on a certain topic for half an hour or 1 hour to a group of students or to a group of teachers. And then depending on what the company, like the area of the company is, like this sample test can be very different. It can be around programming or like designing or drafting a prototype. It can be many different things. And just few words about like professional networking sites. Like LinkedIn is the site which is the most used in Finland when it comes to like professional, and that's really a nice way to develop, like to make contacts when you go to a fair or when you meet people in the industry, like connect with them on LinkedIn, and also be active with your profile, like writing blogs or reacting to posts and make comments that will make you more visible on the job market. So this is an example of an ad from a small and medium-sized company. So they have a website, but it's not very visible. And so you see that the person reposted the ad, so that you see on LinkedIn. So that's typical examples of what SMEs are doing with LinkedIn and job ads. And the more people you have in your networks, the more this kind of ads you will see in your threads, like what you see, what you can follow. And then if you're interested in specific companies or industries, like always follow these companies, or industries. So then you see also the application, like a job advertisement they are publishing. And to finish, like with LinkedIn and this small video, this is also a nice tool, that video, like help that LinkedIn has. So they have different tools that can help you to make more visible on the job market and on the LinkedIn website. So I really invite you to have a look at this. They will most likely help you to improve your visibility and your profile on LinkedIn, and hopefully you will be lucky then with that. All right, so that was it for this small introduction about recruiting in the digital age, and I hope that you enjoy it, and it's time for me to thank you. Bye-bye.